What's up? You recording?
We live on air. Let's get it.
Every time I open my mouth, it's revolution. Unity, knowledge of self, that's a solution. What am I proving? The skills that I'm using gets the crowd moving. It's live when I'm grooving. Or the barn cruising, winning, never losing. Rock LA back to New York to Houston. Keep it moving. I don't know what they doing, but for me, I'm doing fine with these rhymes I'm spewing. I love it. Freestyle to the public. Keep it 100. Name it, we done it. We go back. This is just a bonus track. Free to the public. I might be the oldest cat known for rap. The blueprint, I'm holding that. These rappers are oxymorons. I'm folding them flat. KRS, you see me smiling. You see me ripping down shows, freestyle rhyming. You see me teaching while the devil despising. You see me sipping kava in the Fiji Islands. Shit's real over here, you better keep looking. I just got off the Queen Mary 2 there in Brooklyn. Ripped the UK with the raw MCing. Ripped Europe, ripped Australia, ripped New Zealand. Shout out to Africa, South America, Mumbai, Canada. I'm coming to your area. Yeah! These rhymes are so rare, whether written or off the top with no hair. This is no fair, this is for them bigger boys. I'm not from Chicago, but I do bring the Illinois. I'm that MC that whack rappers still avoid. Street rapper, entrepreneur, never been employed. There's too many rappers and not enough rhymes. Why they talking about brain? The world is mine. What's the point of a Rolex when you don't know the time? Looking for 2 nickels but throwing away dimes. But don't mind me, I'm just passing through. My name is KRS plus half a 2. I'm a father, I do what I have to do. Pioneer 73 Sedgwick Avenue. These critics and cynics, I feel sad for you. The whole world is laughing at you.
Yo, that was KRS-One Live, yo.
Yeah! Shout out to Jesse West for this one. Yo, TJ, good looking, man. I'ma hit you on the gram. T-Will33. Yeah!
Thank you for joining me live. Appreciate it. Appreciate everybody who's tuning in right now. I'm calling this OT because, you know, I used to do the roundtable overtime. I'm hoping to get back to that. It's been a minute since we did the overtime live. And when that happens again, we're going to go right back to overtime live. But, you know, this is overtime because I go live with my Maestro and Kenny T Monday for Mano a Mano. And I thank all of the people who tune in on the regular for that one. And I wanted to make sure I go live because I actually have family visiting me, and hence why I've rearranged the den to create a bedroom here for my guests. And I don't know how often I'll be able to go up the next few days. I'm just going to keep it real. And I definitely wanted to attack this topic. So do me a favor. Let me know if the mic is sounding okay, because I was on with Coach Malachi, and there were some issues, I believe. It could have been his end. I don't know. It could have been my end. I haven't had many issues with the mic before. So just from the jump, let me know if y'all can hear me loud and clear. And if you can hear me, we'll just keep at it and go. All right, cool. DLG's letting me know. Remy 22's letting me know that that it's sounding clear. Perfect. Thank you so much. So first up, big up to A Method in Madness. Apologies to you, brother. I wasn't able to go live when I said I would. I set the live to go live, and I had to go out. And while I was out, an emergency came up, a legit emergency. Actually, it's so much of an emergency, I'm going to have to take some fools to court over something. And I'll probably let you guys know a little bit more about that situation. But yeah, I'm going through something right now. Nothing that's going to hold back my channel. I want to let everybody know that I appreciate all of you continuing to tune in, and especially to my takes, which this is going to be a take. You know, I'm not going to be going back and forth with Kenny T like I usually do in our Monday ciphers. I'm just pretty much going to outline what I think about this whole Canelo topic and just spell it out into more details for everybody. Because I do pop on channels and I give my opinion, but I don't want to, you know, dominate people's spaces, and I want to give time for alternative perspectives. And I never quite got to go all the way in on why I believe Canelo is getting all of the hate that he's getting. And I'm going to attack it kind of from a historical standpoint. I'm going to attack it from the landscape of boxing today in 2021 standpoint. And then I'm going to ask all of you to let me know what you think. I'm going to open up the phone lines for a little bit and let anybody who's got a similar view, a different view, share that view. So let's get into it. And if you guys saw, before I get into it, if you saw my Big Pun remix today, thank you for checking it out. I did the You Ain't a Killer to Canelo and Caleb Plant highlights, the Big Pun song, one of my favorite Big Pun songs. Big Pun's from the Bronx. One of the reasons I like him, but not the only reason. One of the greatest rap lyricists of all time. Only reason he doesn't make a lot of top fives, quite frankly, is because he died too soon, and he didn't really get to release a lot of material. But Capital Punishment is a great album. You Ain't a Killer is a great song. And yeah, Canelo in the video, it's like, bro, you ain't a killer. This is what I've done, and this is what you've done. And if you're going to let Caleb Truax smack you upside the face like he did, clean, it's going to be a little bit of a problem for you against Canelo. So I put that out. It got taken down. I'm contesting it. It is fair use. I've won every challenge I've ever had to one of my videos being taken down. I have total confidence it's going to be back up there at some point soon. And when it does, I'll let all of you know. I'll send it out again so you can all see it. Unfortunately, 1 foot out the door, it's not there just yet. And yes, Mike One, I did see Dipset get utterly destroyed by the locks. I don't know why Cameron agreed to do that. He was literally the only one there, even close to being ready. Jadakiss is clearly the leader of that crew. That crew has never had any internal strifes or beefs or fake drama like Dipset has. And you could see it on stage. I mean, go check it out. Jada did his thing. Cameron did his things in spurts. And the rest of Dipset, they did not show up. And I'll be frank with you. Styles P, and Sheik Luch are on a much higher level than Jim Jones as rappers. And Jewels was up there at a certain point, but I mean, he's just been very inconsistent over the course of the last 20 years or so in hip hop. So that should not have been a surprise, right? Styles P's been out there doing this thing on the underground. For decades, he's been continuously releasing stuff. Sheik Luch has also been releasing stuff, not quite as much, but he took a back seat, as he should have, to Jada and to Styles last night. And yeah, I mean, the locks bodied Dipset last night, and yeah, it was really a one-sided drubbing. So look, let's get into Canelo. Whenever someone appears to be doing something great, is a solid individual, but yet is getting heat and hate, you have to ask yourselves why. Why is this happening? Canelo's fighting consistently, as we all know. I cannot think of an active fighter anywhere near his level that is fighting as consistently as Canelo is. I mean, honestly, it's not even close. He fought to get out of the De La Hoya Golden Boy deal because he wanted to fight regularly. Don't believe me? It's clear, and I'm going to show it. All right? It's very clear, and I'm going to show it. It's clear as day. Canelo fought in May. Before that, he fought in February. Before that, he fought in December. Guys, and before that, his layoff was only because of COVID-19. If you notice, there was a drought in action between 11/02, so that is November the 2nd, all right, until December the 19th of the following year when he fought Callum Smith. The only reason for that is because of COVID-19, a global pandemic. You're talking about a high-level boxer who worked his way out of his contract not because he wasn't being paid what he wanted to be paid, but because he wanted to fight more consistently and often and didn't want to take on a Triple G who he hadn't agreed to fight and who he's already beaten, or take on MMA guys. So look at it. Callum Smith, 19th of December, 2020. Avni Yildirim, February 27th, 2021. Then he gave us Billy Joe Saunders. All right? May the 8th, 2021. 2 of those fucking fights were unifications. 1 was a mandatory defense. Please, someone tell me how this guy is getting the hate. Well, I'll tell you why I think he's getting the hate. And I keep hearing all kind of nonsense out there on the internet, stuff that just is not factually true. I've heard people in recent days tell me that Canelo lobbied to make the Avni Yildirim fight a fight for an interim title. Not true. He won the interim title against Callum Smith. Don't believe me? I'll zoom it in. Have a look at it. Callum Smith, right? Vacant World Boxing Council World Super Middleweight title. He did not win that title against Avni Yildirim. He defended it against Avni Yildirim, a guy who the WBC had promised a title shot to. Not Canelo's fault. He did not lobby for Avni Yildirim as a defense. He lobbied to become the champion through a victory over Callum Smith, which was a legit opponent at the time. Saying anything other than that is totally disingenuous. I'm sorry. It is. It is. I was already a fan of Canelo. This whole situation has made me even a bigger fan of Canelo. First, I became a bigger fan because he got himself out of a contract. Second, because he did it so that he could fight more. Third, because he fought in unification fights. Fourth, because he started to get hate unnecessarily. And fifth, this is my top 5, because he's changing the game. People are afraid of it, and I'm going to explain why. I'm going to explain why. Guys, think about the NBA for a second. Think about Major League Baseball. Professional basketball players and professional baseball players, they don't pay for their team doctor. They don't pay for their athletic trainers. They don't pay for their coaching staff. Not the head coach, not the assistant coach, not the assistant to the assistant coach. They don't pay for the ball boy, the water boy. They don't pay for the parking lot attendant. They don't pay for any of those people. Your NFL player doesn't either, but they don't have guaranteed contracts, so we're going to leave them to the side. Major League Baseball players do not pay for the team doctor, the athletic trainer, any of the coaches, or any of the ancillary staff. Neither do professional basketball players. You know who Canelo pays? Canelo pays his head trainer, his assistant trainer, his sparring partners, and every member of his staff. When Canelo goes into a training camp, he has to fight and get paid to pay those people. Like, granted, yes, he has his millions of dollars. I'm sure he could pay them either way. But boxers pay for these individuals and for their work out of their purses. So essentially, the boxer is responsible for a team of people, much in a way that your basketball player is not, your baseball player is not, your football player out there in Europe is not, or even tackle football here in North America, they're not. All right? But yet, even though Kawhi Leonard, LeBron James, Giannis, James Harden, Chris Paul, Devin Booker, Paul George, right? All of these NBA players I'm naming, Luka Doncic, I could go on and on. They don't pay for any of these people. If they get hurt, they get paid. If they can't perform, they get paid. And those people get paid. Same in baseball. Not in boxing. In boxing, if you get hurt, if you can't fight, they don't get paid out of your purse. You have to pay for that out of your pocket. Because it's not guaranteed. Most of the time. It's not guaranteed most of the time. Now, recently, 2 guys have been able to earn these kind of guarantees. And believe it or not, in boxing, you don't get paid if you get hurt. No. Not unless you have some kind of an insurance policy. And I doubt that there would be a lot of insurance companies that would necessarily personally insure the fighter for anything reasonable anyways, because the fighter would be able to go to a doctor and say, doc, you know what? My wrist ain't feeling so good. I can't fight, but I still need my $25-30 million. Right? Promoters could likely get an insurance to protect themselves, but the fighter, I don't see a scenario where that would be happening because, again, the premiums would probably be super huge. And again, a fighter would just be able to say, you know what? Shoulders tweaked it yesterday in training. Don't really think I could fight. Doc, write me up a little sick note and I'm going to get my 30 million. So it doesn't work like that. And you know what? AJ and Canelo are not even asking for guarantees that they get paid if they get hurt. What they are asking for is guarantees when the opponent gets hurt or cannot perform, and they have done everything they need to do to show up to fight. There's only 2 guys that can demand that and have demanded it and have received it. And that's, to my knowledge, that's AJ and that's Canelo. Now we look at the history. AJ was supposed to fight Pulev back in Cardiff. I don't remember the exact date, but I can pull it up quite easily on BoxRec. All right? He was supposed to fight Pulev. Pulev pulled out with an injury. AJ got paid. You know why AJ got paid? AJ got paid because Eddie Hearn went and found him a substitute. Who was that substitute? His name was Carlos Takam. This was back in 2017. Don't believe me? Pull it up. He fought Carlos Takam October 28th, 2017. He got paid. It was a stadium fight. AJ's such a big star that they could put anybody in against him, as they did with Takam, and it sold. Happened first time with AJ that I know of. Happened again with AJ when we go up to the first Andy Ruiz fight right here in New York City. Right here in New York City, when Big Baby Miller was supposed to fight him back in June of 2019. Big Baby Miller, world record of popping for PEDs in boxing. Right? Had to pull out of the fight. They offered it Kaunaki. Kaunaki didn't take it. They offered it to Luis Ortiz. Luis Ortiz didn't take it. So what happened? They offered it to Andy Ruiz. Andy Ruiz had the cojones, saw the opportunity, grabbed it, knocked AJ's ass out. Rest is history. But you got to take note of the important fact here. Andy Ruiz was a replacement opponent. AJ got paid. So that's a guarantee. He showed up to fight. He was fit. He was healthy. He was ready. I know there was excuses that came along later of, oh, well, he had anxiety or he was looking funny. Look at him before the fight. Something was up. Well, no. He was fit. He was ready. He showed up to fight. It's not his fault that his opponent couldn't do the same. He gets paid. Now, I want you to ask yourself something. If a basketball player can get paid when he's hurt, why shouldn't a boxer be able to get paid when it's no fault of his own that his opponent cannot show up to perform? Why is that? Well, Maestro, the NBA, the NFL, Major League Baseball, it's all very different. This is apples and oranges. We can't compare the two things. That makes no sense. Well, NFL, separate story, because if they get injured, they could just pull up their contracts, rip the shits to shreds, right? They can do that in the NFL. We all know it. It's happened. Those are not guaranteed contracts, which is why they provide signing bonuses to a lot of players, the big stars, because they got to get the signing bonus, because if they don't get the signing bonus and they slip and fall, getting a coffee at McDonald's, by the way, McDonald's is the best coffee, bang for buck, pound for pound, beats Starbucks, beats Dunkin', beats all of these places, especially when they got the all sizes for $1 deal. Tell me that ain't crack. Slips and falls at McDonald's. He can't play. You know what? He gets paid. And you know what? He doesn't pay for the head coach, the assistant coach, the athletic trainer, the team psychologist, the team doctor, the water boy, the ball boy, the parking lot attendant. He doesn't pay for that, but he still gets paid. Meanwhile, Canelo and AJ got to pay for their whole teams. Head trainer, assistant trainer, manager, cut man, sparring partners, guy that mops the floor in his gym. He's paying for all of it. But if he turns up to fight and his opponent can't fight, the expectation is that his ass don't get paid. Why is that? Come on, man. It makes no sense. And if you think about it, just look at it from the philosophy side of it first before you look at the business side. Why should a basketball player, a soccer player / football player, I know guys in Europe, we call it soccer over here. I do my best to call it football, but it gets confusing. Why should a football / soccer player, basketball player, or baseball player get paid when they get injured, but a boxer shouldn't get paid when his opponent gets injured? Forget the business side of it for a second, because we're going to get into that next. Philosophically speaking, if you care about fighters and you want boxing to be a major level sport, explain to me how you can justify, again, business aside, why basketball players and baseball players and soccer and football players, again, not NFL, should be treated like A++ celebrities and boxers like pieces of shit. Please explain that to me from the philosophical side for me. You got to explain that to me. Oh, well, Maestro, how can you expect them to get paid? Like, if they don't fight, there's no fight. Well, how is there no fight? Next man up. I grew up playing 3-on-3. I'm ready to play. My team's ready to play. Who are the next three? We just watch those dudes. Bring the next three up. We want the next three up. Who's there? Why shouldn't boxers fight replacements? Why shouldn't boxers fight replacements? Oh, well, like, I don't want to watch a trash-ass fight. I hate that. I'm never going to watch that. I wanted to fight the big fight. I wanted the undisputed fight, the unification fight. I want star versus star. Okay, I get that. I'm saying right now, focus on the issue. The issue is basketball players, soccer players, international football stars playing for Real Madrid, Barcelona, Bayern Munich, Man City, Man United, Arsenal, Liverpool, CSKA Moscow, you name it, Red Star Belgrade. They get paid if they get hurt. Why should a boxer not get paid if the boxer is ready to fight and his opponent cannot fight. Well, because the money's not there, obviously, maestro. Okay, so we're going to get into the money now. Because the only answer I ever received to this question is the money. Well, first of all, why the fuck do you care about the money? It's not your money. Oh, wait, it is. Pay-per-view. I'm paying the pay-per-view. I don't want to buy the bad fight. That's the problem. The problem is the pay-per-view model. Because you know what? If the NBA and the Major League Baseball operated on a pay-per-view model where the players only got paid if there were pay-per-views being sold, and the only way to sell a pay-per-view was to have the Super Bowl every night, then those guys wouldn't be getting paid either. So the problem is the model, ladies and gentlemen. The problem is the model. The problem is pay-per-view. And the issue is that Canelo is saying, fuck pay-per-view. I want my motherfucking guarantee. Give me my guarantee, bitch, or I am not fighting. And that is why he's getting the hate. There is no need to have pay-per-view boxing. There is no need for it. This is an old model that exploits the fighters, treats the fighters like shit. The fighter gets injured, his opponent gets fucked up the ass. That is what happens. And if you're not going to agree with that, then I'm sorry, you don't really care about fighters. You don't care about fighters. If it's okay with you that a fighter can spend 8 weeks, 12 weeks away from his family, away from his kids, paying for sparring partners, trainers, every single expense, and then at the ultimate hour, be told, oh, sorry, you can't get paid because that guy couldn't show up. You do not care about fighters. You don't care about fighters. And you obviously have no idea what it's like to do, what it's like to go through a training camp, an 8-week camp, a 10-week camp, a 12-week camp. You have no idea. You have no idea. You have no idea. Because if you think a fighter should go through all of that and pay out of pocket for all of that, LeBron doesn't pay the team doctor. LeBron doesn't pay the team psychologist. LeBron doesn't pay the athletic trainer. LeBron doesn't pay the assistant trainers. LeBron doesn't pay the ball boy, doesn't pay the water boy, doesn't pay the parking lot attendant, doesn't pay anybody else, but he gets paid when he gets hurt. But if Canelo wants to get paid when his opponent gets hurt, Canelo gets the hate. Meanwhile, Luka Doncic could be out for a whole season and get paid when he gets hurt. Tell me how that's fair. And then tell me how you give a fuck about fighters if you believe that. Because you obviously don't. You obviously don't care about the fighters if you want them to go through an 8-week, 10-week, 12-week camp, even a 4-week camp, and pay all of those expenses, and then expect to go into his own pockets to pay all of those people because his opponent couldn't show up to fight. You don't care about fighters. You don't care about boxing. You don't. Now, what's the solution to the model? It's simple. DAZN has already established it. We get our subscribers. We establish a budget. We pay for contingencies. If we give Canelo the Plant fight in September and Plant cannot show up, we have a replacement opponent for Canelo in September, and Plant gets the fight in December once he's healed up. And if Plant doesn't get the fight in December, well, then we have another guy for Canelo to fight. But Canelo should be paid every time he's signed up to fight, shows up to fight. His opponent cannot fight. That ain't Canelo's fault. And Canelo's changing the game by making these demands, which is why he's getting all the hate. And I've been consistent about this. You will not find me one day saying that Canelo's this and then the next day saying that Canelo's that. That's not what I do. That's not what HCP does. Now, I'm fully willing to, if I am told that, oh, this was wrong or that was wrong about your analogy and what you said, okay. I'm willing to be proven that I said something incorrect, but I haven't said anything incorrect on this. If you care about boxers and about the lives of boxers and about the financial security of boxers and about the future of boxers and about their children and their wives and the people that they employ, trainers, cut men, sparring partners, how can you say that if he puts in all of the work, shows up to fight, is ready to fight, and his opponent cannot fight, that he should not be paid? Please explain that. Because the answer is always one thing. Oh, well, Maestro, I don't want to buy a pay-per-view to see Canelo take on Bivol or Canelo take on Anthony Durrell. Nobody's asking you to. This fight should have never been on pay-per-view. Canelo wanted this fight on DAZN, where he would have had a backup opponent, just like AJ does. Just like he was about to if Billy Joe Saunders dropped out of the fight. That's the facts. That is the fact of the matter. Those are the facts. And if you think that an NBA player should get paid if he gets hurt and is out for 3 years with a bad knee and a bad back and sits at home and gets paid, but that the boxer shouldn't get paid when he shows up for work, put in the investment of his own money in his camp prior to the fight, and then his opponent pulls out, if you think that he shouldn't get paid, then you do not care about fighters. Now, if you tell me, oh, well, Maestro, you know what? I hear what you're saying, but when the pay-per-view model, they need to sell pay-per-views to pay the fighters. Otherwise, the fighters can't get paid. Exactly. That's why the pay-per-view model sucks. If every NFL team, or again, I got to stop saying the NFL because they're terrible. If every series between the Yankees, right there, right? The Yankees and another team, right? If every series needed to be the World Series on pay-per-view, then, and if one team couldn't perform, then yeah, the baseball players wouldn't be getting paid, which is why baseball's not on pay-per-view. The problem in boxing is that every event is the fucking World Series if you're a championship fighter. So look, I'm sorry I couldn't get on and do this earlier. Like I said, I've got a legal matter that I'm attending to. You know, I see a method in madness saying that the UFC is pay-per-view. Yeah, the UFC is pay-per-view, bro. And the UFC pays its fighters shit. They pay their fighters shit. They pay their fighters 18% out of 82% profit. Profit. I'm not talking about net. I'm talking about gross. Sorry, I'm talking about net, not about gross. My fault. All right, so look, I'm going to open up the phone lines. All right, like I said earlier, I had to get this live off. You can see I switched up my den over here. All right, because I had family visiting. I had to remove furniture, put in new furniture. My den is going to be a bedroom for the next week. So I'm not going to be able to always come on here and do these lives like I'd like to. Okay, so I had to get this one off. All right, for all of you, especially considering I flopped this afternoon, which I don't like to flop. But like I said, I had an urgent legal matter. People are coming at me legally. I have to clap back at them legally. I got to get attorneys and all type of shit for it. All right, so I had a really fucked up day, but I wanted to come over here and do this live because I promised it. All right, so I'm going to throw up the number. If anybody wants to come in, that's fine. All right, the number, as always, here in the Bronx, 718-618-4284. Okay, once again, it's 718-618-4284. The phone lines are open. If anybody wants to chime in on this, you can. All right. I gave my opinion on this. People are disagreeing with it, or at least a couple of people are in the chat. All right. And yeah. I'm going to go back to Method because Method, I know, disagrees with me on this. Fans paid to watch Povetkin versus White 2. They did. But you know why Povetkin White 2 had to be delayed? And why why White couldn't find a replacement to fight? Because it was on Sky Sports. Sky Sports uses a pay-per-view model. Pay-per-view sucks. People got to stop saying, oh, well, my favorite fighter is such a superstar because my favorite fighter's on pay-per-view. Pay-per-view sucks for the fighters and sucks for the fans. Fans have to pay $85. Fighters only get paid if the pay-per-view goes off. The pay-per-view only goes off if the A-list fighter usually faces off against an opponent that can sell. If the opponent doesn't sell, there's no pay-per-view. If there's no pay-per-view, the fighter doesn't get paid. If there's no fighter being paid, then all of those weeks, training camp, paying for sparring partners, paying for sparring partners' accommodation, right? Paying for your cut man, paying for your trainer, your assistant trainer, it all goes to waste. But we're cool with that, right? Right? We're cool with that. We're cool with fighters just being treated that way. Why the hell do we keep acting like we want pay-per-view when pay-per-view clearly is terrible for boxing and, more importantly, terrible for the fighters that we say we care about? I mean, it is what it is. It is what it is. I don't think, where's my man Method again? Because he just said something about terrible fighters. Look, Amy Ruiz was a replacement opponent for AJ. That was not a terrible fight. It wasn't a terrible fight. And the people that wanted to see AJ still got to see AJ, right? They still got to see him. So let's see who this is right here. I'm going to bring this person in right now. With 914 California. California, you're on live. Hello.
What's up, brother? This Molly Mall, man.
Molly Mall, what's going on, fam?
Shit, man, I just jumped in a little late, but I caught your Kanye rant about basically Canelo needing an insurance policy and he should be able to have a guaranteed fight.
Correct.
And of course, he should be able to have a guaranteed fight. But I think the problem came in at, it's like, at 40 million, bro, we got to negotiate that. Like, that's too high. And then you have to be able to approve the opponent. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of hard for, in my opinion, that's kind of hard for executives to sit there and say, okay, I'm willing to give him 40 million for Caleb Plant, no problem, boom. And then he says he wants an insurance policy on the belts. Okay, we gave him a rematch one way. Now he says he wants an insurance policy on his money, no problem. But like you said, that needs to be negotiated. Start high and then negotiate down. But it's time sensitive. That's always been my thing about this whole situation is like, I don't think anybody of good common sense would have a problem with Canelo having an insurance policy on his money. I believe it's just the fact of, 40 million was probably a jumping off point. But it's like now that takes more time to negotiate. And now we have to restart this thing over. And I just kind of just feel like, bro, like, that's like, it's like the time is just not enough time. You know what I'm saying? Like what's wrong with pushing the dates back? Like, what's wrong with just pushing that back? You already missed a few Mexican dates anyway. One, because you got popped for a banned substance. Other times your business wasn't right. You know what I'm saying? So what's wrong with pushing it back? I don't really, you know what I'm saying, get what the problem is. At this point, at this time in a situation, that's what I'm trying to say.
I think, Molly Moore, the main problem here is that none of us really know what happened in negotiations because we only have one side of the story, and that story was Caleb Plant, and that those quotes were given to Mike Coppinger. It became clickbait. We read it. We jumped to conclusions. Some of us, I'm not saying you did, but I don't know if all of those reports were necessarily true because they're one-sided. And it's like, you know, we cannot, and I'm not saying you're doing this, but we cannot, you know, condone one man not speaking to the media and say, well, you know, it's okay for him not to speak to the media because the media are all liars, right? And then say that another man who people may not like should speak to the media because this other guy's saying all of this stuff in the media. And I'm sure you can put two and two together to figure out which two fighters I'm talking about there.
I understand.
Right?
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. So the media, either the media is, fair or it's unfair. I particularly think it's unfair. A lot of these old media types have always played favorites, and they know which names to use and which names to use and how to use the names to run the stories that they think will resonate. And that's happened throughout boxing. Now, to the question of the business side of things, absolutely, 40 million sounds like a lot of money to fight a replacement opponent. I agree, right? I'm not crunching the numbers, so maybe other people will disagree. I actually had somebody say that 40 million isn't a lot. Personally, it sounds like a lot of money to me to fight like a Yildirim type, right? Or even a Bivol type,
Of course it is. Because the zone didn't give him that for Yildirim.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, if I'm a businessman, right, that generates a lot of money through my craft, and that's what Canelo's fighting is. It's his craft. It's what he uses to get paid. You start the negotiating somewhere, right? And with the hope of negotiating it down to something that both sides can agree to. To me, that's kind of how it started. Like I've always said, he probably threw out 40, expecting 15 as the response, with the expectation of, somewhere between 20 and 25 or whatever the number is. I don't know, right? But clearly, on pay-per-view especially, selling Durrell versus Canelo is a lot more difficult than selling Canelo versus Plant because it's not an undisputed fight. But
to be honest with you, not to cut you off, but to be honest with you, as far as this whole, you're saying, why do people like what's the big deal about pay-per-view and why people want to, you know what I'm saying? That's just like saying, hey, a woman can go to Ross or Marshalls and buy a purse for $14.99. And then she can go to Louis Vuitton and buy the same size purse, same type of purse for $1,400. There's always going to be a premium on certain things. People have been conditioned since thousands of years ago to think that more expensive is better, right? That's a premium, right? I'm getting a better product.
Good
right?
point. Yep.
That's not necessarily the case. That's not necessarily the case in life. So as far as pay-per-view, if you're selling it as, hey, this isn't like one of our regular fights on Showtime or Fox. This is a big fight. So we're going to charge you. In your mind, you're already conditioned to think, okay, damn, it's a big fight. It's a big weekend. It's Canelo. It's on pay-per-view. I got to get this fight. As opposed to saying, hey, Canelo's fighting on the zone. It's only $20, and he's fighting a guy from the UK who speaks with an accent I've never heard of. Now, I'm not saying the quality of fight will be any better as opposed to on pay-per-view or worse. All I'm saying is this. It's harder to sell things on an app when you're Canelo, because let's just be honest, you might not agree, but as far as like my girl's half Mexican, right? So, you know what I'm saying? I talk to her family and whatnot. When Canelo moved to the app, he lost some of his stardom because, one, it was a new app. Two, a lot of his fans in Mexico weren't that tech savvy to say, hey, I want to watch a fight on my phone, or didn't really know how to even get the app on their phone or television too. And when you're not being promoted by a big network, you don't have as many commercials running, right? You're not on telecast doing interviews, right? Because you're out of sight, out of mind. So in my opinion, I understand why he wants his money, because he's figured, hey, I'm Canelo. I'm one man. I can only get y'all so many subscriptions. This is what you're going to give me. I'm going to take it. And of course, on pay-per-view, it's more promotion-based, and they want to recoup some of their money. All I'm saying is, in my opinion, I believe he would make more money on pay-per-view because he's at a level of the game where he is Louis Vuitton. He is Gucci. Louis Vuitton never goes on sale. If something doesn't sell, they return it back to the factory and they burn it, or they re-release it years later. That's what Canelo is.
That's a
He
good
is
point.
Louis Vuitton. He is Gucci.
No,
You see what I'm saying?
I understand what you're saying. But here's what I'm hoping we can get to in boxing, right? Because if we don't get to this, there's no way that fighters are going to be able to get any kinds of guarantees. And I'm not here really worried about Canelo. He's, worth, I believe, like over $100 million or whatever it is. AJ's worth huge amounts. These are the guys that get the guarantees. I'm concerned more, to be honest with you, about the guy that's making $20, $25, $50,000, who put in a training camp, shows up to perform, and his opponent cannot perform. Now, in a lot of these cases, they do find opponents. We did see that on the Fox Sports telecast this past weekend, right? I think there were a few replacement fights there. But here's the thing. The World Series and a regular baseball game cost the exact same amount of money. I know. Hear me out, though, bro. Hear me out. They cost the amount. Okay. They cost the same amount of money. The World Series and regular season baseball. The Super Bowl costs the same to watch as a regular season game, right? Last one. NBA playoffs. NBA playoffs cost the same amount. Now, boxing is not in a place where the free TV model will work for many reasons. One being the structure of fights does not allow easily for the kind of advertising that we see in other sports. There's no TV timeouts, you know what I mean? There aren't extended breaks between rounds, right? But we can get to a space where there is some form of a flat fee that we generally pay, right? And that the championship fight costs the same on DAZN, which it does. A Canelo fight on DAZN costs the same as a Ryan Garcia fight on DAZN, which costs the same as a Devin Haney fight on DAZN, which costs the same as a Gilberto Ramirez fight on DAZN, which costs the same as any fight on DAZN, because we've paid a flat fee. It's upfront. It's front loaded, is what I'm trying to say. And I get. Because of that, you can have some guarantees. I mean, we got to at least get to a point where 20% of the purse is guaranteed if you show up and the opponent could not perform for whatever reason, right? Maybe hopefully higher than that, but there's got to be some safety net for fighters to get paid if they cannot perform through any reason that's not their own doing. Go for it, fam.
And I hear what you're saying. It's basically like what we were going through with COVID, as far as people saying, hey, the movie industry saying, hey, I can cut the theaters out. I can just get direct consumer like Disney, like Netflix, like Hulu, all these subscription-based things, right? But you know what happens with that, right? Eventually, you're going to pay so many subscriptions that you're going to end up paying the same price as cable. You see what I'm saying? So all I'm saying is this. Those other sports, they get guaranteed contracts because they're generating billions of dollars. Now, I wholeheartedly believe it needs to be some insurance put in place for the lower level, for all boxers, but especially the lower level boxers. Absolutely. But if you're not generating that source of income, it's almost like what they say, what you kill is what you eat, right? If you're not bringing in that type of money, then you can't demand that big of an insurance policy. You see what I'm saying?
I understand exactly what you're saying. If you cannot sell pay-per-views, you can't pay the fighter. And if you're not getting enough subs, you can't pay the fighter. But I'll tell you this.
Exactly.
I would pay $100 a year right now to get all of the PBC fights on a streaming platform. If the PBC made its own streaming service, I would be the first to sign up. I would be the first to sign up, especially if it meant the fighters got guarantees. I'd actually probably pay $200 or $300 a year for it, to be honest, because I'd rather do that than out of the blue some pay-per-view comes up and I got to pay $85.
I mean, trust me, I get that. And pay-per-views was always supposed to be reserved for those top dogs, those De La Hoyas, those Tysons, those, those Lennox Lewis.
Lewis.
Yeah. And now they're just trying to, I don't know if they're trying to recover money or make money. I'm not exactly sure, what the reason is for so many. Maybe they're trying to build stars, like I said. Maybe they're trying to sell you. They're trying to say, hey, this is Louis Vuitton, but the shit really came from Canal Street. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I agree.
Maybe that's what they're doing. Not to try to say that nobody's, you know what I'm saying, low budget. I'm just saying they're not at that level. Like Tank is not a pay-per-view superstar like they're trying to sell him to be. But the only way, like, you can get that to be at a premium price or viewed as premium is if you keep telling people, hey, this is a premium product that you're getting. That's just promotion. That's promotion based, right?
No, 100%. And you're making great points, because we're at a point right now in boxing where, especially with the PBC, you are a star if you're on pay-per-view. You know, I honestly think that was a big reason why the Charlo brothers made that pay-per-view experiment where they did the double pay-per-view that did bad business, because they wanted to prove that they were quote-unquote stars, right? Tank Davis,
they're not.
Not the stars that we grew up watching. If you're like me, born in the 80s, grew up watching boxing in the 90s, when a star was Holyfield, a star was Tyson, a star was Trinidad, De La Hoya, you know, a star was Roy Jones Jr., a star was Lennox Lewis. You know what I mean? So right now, they want Tank to be a star. So they put him on pay-per-view, even if it means that the pay-per-view doesn't sell over 1 million like Tyson or Floyd, but sells 200,000. You know what I mean? You're absolutely right with the Louis Vuitton analogy, 100%.
And to me, that's why it was like, to me, I mean, I'm not going to count somebody's pockets, you know what I'm saying? But it just seems like before he went on the zone, he was a bigger star. And then when he went on the zone, he got buried a little bit on a platform that did not have a lot of other stars generating a lot of viewers. You know what I'm saying? It was Joshua, it was Canelo, and pretty much that was it as far as, you know what I'm saying, English speaking, or, you know, like the mainstream boxers. They didn't really have a whole lot of stars. And to be honest, they still don't have a lot of stars. You know what I'm saying? So PBC, I mean, they don't have a lot of stars either, but it's on mainstream terrestrial network television. Pacquiao is a world global star. Errol Spence is becoming a national star. You know what I'm saying? They have Broner, even though he might not be a star, but he's a star in hip hop. And that comes with his own fan base alone.
Trust me, I'm looking forward to the Pac-Man Errol Spence video. For those of you who haven't, I put up an Errol Spence mix up there. I've been mixing music to boxing highlights. You guys can check it out on my channel. I had one taken down today for copyright, but it'll be back up because I always fight my copyright complaints, and I always win. I got 100% free throw shooting percentage on that one. And but my point about that is that, yeah, it's a big fight. But you know, they probably wanted Canelo. This actually, I can't say probably. Let me keep it real. I don't know, but I heard and I agreed with someone who came on my channel and said that because they're losing the Fox deal, right, they really needed Canelo to a multi-fight to try to like bring Fox back, you know, because if Fox is doing the pay-per-views, then Fox is also supporting the content that supports the pay-per-views, meaning the FS1 cards and the Fox Sports cards. So there's a lot in the mix. I don't know what the exact answer is. It could be a subscription-based model. I'm willing to hear other ideas about it, but we have to get to a point where fighters cannot be just hoard out and said, look, if you show up, but we don't feel like paying you because this person didn't show up for whatever reason, you can't get paid. Like, fighters should not be treated like that, in my opinion. And we got to figure out a way for that issue to be resolved.
But are they though? Like, I mean, I'm pretty sure maybe it's examples, but every time I hear about a fight, not like a fighter not making it due to, you know, some positive tests for COVID or PEDs or injury, I always see a replacement. So it's rare. I really hear about a fight not taking place because there's no warm body in the ring.
It's not that rare, fam. I'll give you 2 high-level fights. I
wasn't sure. So
100%. It's a fair question. One was brought up earlier in the chat. Remember when Povetkin got COVID and Dillian White was really upset because it was delayed, right? The other one more recently is Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. They didn't have a replacement opponent that Wilder could fight to get him to get him paid.
Yeah,
He's back in
yeah,
Alabama
but those
training.
are different situations. Those are kind of different. Wilder had to go through arbitration, and so that's a very unusual situation. And as far as Dillian White and Povetkin, I don't think Dillian White wanted to fight anybody but Povetkin just to get that run back. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think he would have settled for anybody but Povetkin at that point, especially seeing that it was potential like belt rankings on the line. You know what I'm saying? For him to get back in the WBC top rankings. So those are two very, you know what I'm saying, not common situations. But I hear what you're saying. There's always going to be times where, yeah, they couldn't get a guy in, or, you know what I'm saying? So I'm sure there has been, but as far as those two examples, one was arbitration, so that's a legal matter in itself. And then the other one was, if a motherfucker knocked me out cold, I don't want nobody else but him. You know what I'm saying? Like Dipset shouldn't want no run back unless he's with the locks. That's what I'm trying to say. You know what I'm saying?
First of all, that was a big mistake by Cameron, because no one else in Dipset right now is anywhere near on his level as a rapper. Jim Jones is way past it. He was never a lyricist to begin with, and also, honestly, he wasn't really a good stage performer either. You know, and Jewel's very inconsistent, and again, was never on Cameron's level. So Cameron should have taken on like Jadakiss by himself. That would have probably been more fair. But to have Styles P in there, who is elite on his own, and also Sheik Luch, who I think is better than Jewels and Jim Jones combined, like, I don't know why they even agreed to that fight. But what were your thoughts on that matchup?
I mean, to me, it was a good matchup because the Locks have more like real street anthems and street songs. Dipset got a lot of big commercial songs. So, to me, it was how well are you going to play against the commercial success? Like with Jeezy versus Gucci. Jeezy had a lot of commercial songs. Gucci was more for the streets. So I kind of looked at that dynamic as the same one as this. Like, it was commercial success versus, independent success with Jada, but as a group, it was more like street anthems. So, I mean, to me, and it was big for New York. It was big for y'all out there. You know what I'm saying? So I thoroughly enjoyed it. I just felt like Jada they came in for war. They came in for battle. And Dipset stayed true to themselves. When keeping it real goes wrong, they stayed true to Harlem niggas. We flash and we fly. We too cool for school. But you got to understand and know how to read the room. These niggas came in for war. They were aggressive from the time they walked out, and they said, man, where y'all niggas at? Bring your ass out here. Stop being late. They was aggressive from that moment on. Yeah. And they brought it.
That's good. That's great analysis. Here's my thing with the matchup, right? The Locks has had, I believe, 4 albums that I can think of. I'm pretty sure Dipset only had Diplomatic Immunity and Diplomatic Immunity 2. So you've got 4 albums versus 2 albums, and that's just as a group. Then when you look at them individually, Styles P has more albums than both Jim Jones and Jewels, and it's way more. I think Sheik Luch does, actually. They've just been doing them underground, but Sheik Luch has more albums than both of them. Styles P has way more albums than both of them, and obviously Jadakiss does. I think Styles P might have more albums than Jadakiss. So just off of like potential songs they could use, like there's no comparison. And another thing too, they've been a unit for way longer. Remember that Dipset and Jim Jones Cameron and Jim Jones and Jewels, they all broke up and there was all kind of drama. The Locks has always been solid and has been touring together nonstop since they came out as a group way back with Money, Power, Respect, which is when they came on my radar when I was a kid. So it sounded good on paper to me, but then when you looked at it by the numbers and by the quality of content, honestly, to me, Cameron's the only one who's on their level.
Yeah, I give you that. But like I said, I mean, just like you said, though, the Locks have more of a cohesiveness, right? They moved like an army, D-Block. They came out with the marching anthems. Like, they moved as one. And Dipset, they came out there together, but, one got to try to be more drippy than the other. You know what I'm saying? Jewel still, he had on about 50 damn wave caps and hats, and it's like,
Yeah.
and then it was like they just kind of maybe thought like we got the bigger anthems, we got the bigger commercials.
No,
We're not gonna be able to beat us.
Yeah.
And it was like Jada was just like, nah, fam, like nah. It's the crowd. This New York. And then he came out there. It was talking shit. You know what I'm saying? He was like, oh, you know what I'm saying? This is our home, and we, you know what I'm saying? Y'all go first, we home. And then he came back and said, Cam, you moved to Miami though. You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, it was a nice little versus.
That was a liver shot right there, bro. That was a liver shot.
It was.
Mm-hmm. Bro, thank you so much for calling.
But I'm gonna get back to work though, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. I got a few minutes left here, about 7 minutes left, so I'm gonna see if anybody else calls in. But great call, fantastic call. Appreciate the call. Please call again.
All right, man.
Absolutely.
All right, man.
Salute you, brother. That was the one and only Marley Marl calling in. Marley Marl from boxing, that is, unless it's the other Marley Marl, which would be pretty amazing if that were the case. But nah, it's my man Marley Marl from Cali. Great call as usual. So guys, look, I spent a bit of time on the topic. I think that Canelo's a game changer. I'm not going to say he's all the way Curt Flood. Curt Flood being the African-American baseball player who invented free agency, that every one of these NBA and MLB players should be cutting a inheritance check towards, or whatever the percentage would be called. A royalty is the word I was looking for. But let me give the last call here to my man, What Rep It. What Rep It? What's good?
What's happening? I just heard the last caller when he was saying about the versus matchup, right?
Yeah.
Let me ask you something real quick about that. What do you think Petey Crack, Freeway, and Benny Siegel would do to the Locks?
I think it would be way closer, depending on whether they've been keeping up with their touring, because it's all about staying sharp, like fighters. Like, you can't just go out there after 15 years of not being together and just give an amazing performance. Like, the Locks has been touring since 1990, probably before 1998 when they jumped on the scene. So that they've got their shit down together, and they're like all really close friends. So, but in terms of like griminess and grittiness and like lyrics, the guys you named, State Property, I don't know if Petey Crack is officially with State Property, but yeah, that group can definitely do it. What about you?
Yeah, that's more of a matchup, right? Because the Locks are more lyrical. Dipset was more of like a movement, and more of like just being like guys just trying to be fly and shit, right? That's what I saw. Yeah. It's not like all lyrics and shit. I got another one for you, just to throw some controversy.
There you go.
What does everybody in the chat? What does everybody in the chat think about Eminem versus Jay-Z? Who'd win in that one?
Oh, I mean, it's not necessarily a battle. It's more like I think a lot of this to be honest, hip hop comes out of Jamaican American DJ clashing. That's what started here in the Bronx. It was Jamaican Americans with the DJ clash culture from Jamaica. And this whole versus thing is kind of like that, where guys perform their best songs against their best songs versus guys performing on a beat where they both go at each other. Because of that, honestly, I think that Jay-Z has more bangers than Eminem for like a stage performance. Personally, I mean, he's got a lot going on there.
It'd be a war, man. But I see the chat already going. The chat's already saying like all kinds. Everybody has an opinion with that one, right? So it's what it is. Let me get into the
Canelo.
Let me get into the boxing, right?
Yeah.
You were saying something which you brought up. You're always bringing this up about the insurance, which is factual, right? You want to ensure that you have a fight, and you want to ensure you're fighting for a proper title, right?
Yeah.
What are people going to say when either Earl Spence and Pac-Man, one of the two, has to go out because of coronavirus? Are people going to say, yeah, let me still pay the $100 to see this fucking fill-in fight?
I mean, they probably wouldn't, but that's the problem with pay-per-view, right? In order for the fight to go on, it has to be a Super Bowl. It has to be a World Series. It has to be the UEFA championship. It has to be the World Cup final. It has to be the Olympic final of the 100-meter dash, because anything else, people will not want to pay for it. And even in all of those things, people don't even pay for those. But you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, right. But that's the point. that's the point you're making, right? And I just had to use this point in a sense, right? Look, the fight is in August between Spence and Pacquiao, right? August what? 20? What day is it?
August 24th, I believe, is when it is. Let me look it up now while you're talking.
Yeah, man. So anything can happen in between then, and we've seen people catch COVID or take positive tests. So are all the people hating on Canelo, are they going to be still ponying up the $100 to watch a replacement fighter for either Pacquiao or Spence? Are they going to feel good about that? I doubt they will, right?
No, they wouldn't. But they seem to be in love with pay-per-view. They absolutely do.
Yeah, that's the point.
And I don't know
Yeah, it
why
doesn't make
people
any
are in
sense.
love with pay-per-view. It makes no sense to me. One quick set, what rep it. I haven't said this once, so I'm going to say it now. Hit that like button, everybody. Hit that subscribe button for me. I'm trying to get this channel to keep growing. I want all my HCP brothers to keep growing, sisters too. All right, we're all supporting each other. Hit the smash the like button. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification button. Please do it. It takes half a second and it's free. What rep it right back at you.
Yeah, man. It's like I was saying, right? These guys are saying about all these insurance fights, and it doesn't make any sense. But when it happens and it stops other fights, everybody's gonna realize that this is what's the new era of boxing. Matter of fact, I think after this contract, everybody's gonna want an insurance. Even Earl, even Crawford, everybody. Even Plant's probably gonna say, "I want an insurance just to make sure that you're gonna show up to the fight." As you stated, Wilder and Fury, both of them would have been smart to have an insurance or to have something to as a backup plan instead of having to wait or look dumb, right, on the day of the fight or to not announce anything. Giving back money on the day of a fight or a day before a fight is a hell of a blow to any company, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like I said, this PVC pay-per-view, I hope it goes fine. I hope it goes fine for PVC because everybody wants to see the Earl versus Pacquiao. I mean, that's the fight people want to see. So just for boxing, I hope it goes fine. But I don't know, man. Something might happen, and then everybody's gonna be like, "Damn, Canelo and that shit was right. They should have insurance on this shit." That's my call, and I just wanna, hey, man. I don't know what you're dealing with, bro. I don't know if the legal attacks you're getting with, but I hope you get through it.
Oh,
It's crazy, man.
Yeah,
People do frivolous shit on people, man.
No, thank you. No, I'll tell you what's happening. I'm renovating a place, right? A new apartment my wife and me are trying to move into, and we hired a contractor. The dude's been doing fantastic work. Uh, the building says that he did something wrong, and even though he has insurance, and even though he's licensed in New York, they're trying to say I'm responsible for it. It's like it's total BS. But it's going to cost me time and money, and I got to deal with it. But yeah, that's why I couldn't go live today. You guys are all my family now, extended, so I'm letting you go. That is it for me. It's 7:00 on the dot. My guests have arrived. You guys saw that I turned my den into a bedroom, a guest room. I might not be doing these lives as often for the next week or so, but stay tuned. I'll try to do as much as I can, probably from a different location on my laptop, not by my computer in my studio, while I wait to move to my new spot. What rep it? Thank you so much. I appreciate it. One love.
Peace out, brother.
Absolutely, bro. One love to all of the subs. If you're not a sub, become one. I thank you so much for being here, for helping me. You're all part of my success on YouTube, which is growing and growing by the day. I'm going to give out, actually, I'm going to just put up my outro, which is the Lennox Lewis outro, my favorite one, and wish all of you a great rest of your Wednesday. That's it for me. Take care, everybody.